going to talk about when it's time to hire for help. And I'm actually going to talk about this from a kind of a service provider's perspective. Because I've been hired by a lot of businesses way too early in the process, where there wasn't actually that much I could do for help, and investing in my help wasn't really the smartest thing for them to do. And when I've been brought on a bit too late in the process, and that wasn't great either. Cool. So, kind of as small business owners, you're used to doing so much of stuff by yourself. I mean, you get pretty good at being pretty self-sufficient. And it's hard to know when it's time to bring somebody on. And it is usually about the time when, you're getting really tired, you haven't slept properly in about 5-6 months, coffee's not really working for you anymore, you're just like, hey, I need somebody to help me with this. But 2 things to do and to think about before paying someone is you really need a clear idea of what it is your business actually needs, that you don't have the expertise, the time, or the energy to really provide for it. And then you actually need to be willing to let somebody in for help. And I don't know about you guys, but that's something I find ridiculously difficult. It is actually like letting somebody in and explaining what my business does and letting them really help me. So maybe you're thinking, hey, I'm ready now. And this is a fantasy picture. So I found a lot of people I speak to, myself included, you have this dream that at some point you're going to retire on an island in Tahiti or somewhere, or in a cabin in the woods, and your business will be running smoothly, everything would just be self-sufficient and great, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to make this dream happen. I'm going to build this massive team, and everything's just going to be fantastic. But that's probably not actually the best time to bring people in. And these are some terrible reasons to hire help. So everyone else is doing it. I mean, it's hard when you look around you and a lot of people are building companies at different speeds, and you're like, hey, these guys started at the same time I did, but they have already done all these other things. Shouldn't I also be doing those things? And then you have somebody you really admire, so a mentor who's like, hey, you know what you should consider doing? You should probably bring in an SEO person or a conversion copywriter or somebody to help you. That's also not a good time to bring someone in. Or it's the industry standard, which kind of covers the everybody else is doing a thing. Or you're just knackered and things are really hard and help sounds good right about now. Cool, but what you really need are 3 things. And so for this, I'm actually going to tell you a couple of stories from my own personal experience. And the first thing, which you kind of do need to hire someone, is money. But while, yeah, you need money to pay them, that's not the only thing that you really need it for, because when you invest money in something, it means that you're not investing it in something else. And so you gotta think about, great, I'm bringing in this person, and they're helping me do this one thing. But is this really the best way? So for example, there was this EdTech company, and they had a fantastic piece of software. They just raised their first Series A, so they had money to spend, and they're like, you know what? Content marketing, that's the thing everybody is doing. That's the thing we should do. We have money. We should write really great educational content that our customers love. Which, sounds really sensible. Why wouldn't you do that? But the content they wanted to write was really high-level stuff. So we basically did the HBR-style articles for EdTech. But while the content was great, it wasn't really solving the bottom line problems. It wasn't really helping the company bring any money in. It wasn't solving the problems that the customers were asking. Because they were still in development, they hadn't really figured out their pricing yet. So their pricing structure was a bit weird. At first they thought they were going to go for enterprise clients, then they thought they were going to go for small business clients and solopreneurs, and so everything was just really unclear. So we were creating this great content, but it really wasn't doing anything for them. And then the other thing is, nobody had actually planned the money for content marketing. So yeah, I mean, you put these great things out there, but unless somebody's promoting them, it's not doing anything for you. So by the time they raised the second round of investment, the new investors came in, and they were like, guys, we're cutting this content thing out. Look, it's not doing anything. And this really got me thinking. They spend this money investing in content and it didn't bring any ROI. What would have happened if they'd actually thought about what would really help the business bottom line? Cool. So the next thing is you also need a good plan before you bring somebody in. And so this is another story from an entrepreneur this time. So he was a course creator. He made a lot of really awesome YouTube videos. And by the time we started working together, he'd been running profitably for like 5-6 years. And he had a small team, he had a designer, all the usual stuff. And he really just wanted to let somebody else do the copy side. And at the beginning, when we first started working together, we had this really detailed development plan. Like, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to make these ebooks and these courses and these things. And then 2 months in, he was like, you know what? We spent all this work doing that, but now I want to do something else. So we make a new plan, and we start doing these other things. About 3 months after that, it's like, you know what? No, I changed my mind again. I think we should now do this other thing. And so because he'd basically gone in with the, I have this pain, and I want to solve it, and a writer would help me solve it, but he hadn't really thought about what the business would look like long term. He just ended up throwing money at things that weren't working and were really frustrating. And so you really need a direction. You need a map of somewhere of where you want your business to go. And the third thing you kind of need is time. And that's time to just invest, sitting with the person, like whether that's a contractor or a full-time employee, or like whatever the relationship with the person you want to hire is. You need the time to just spend with them, to onboard them properly, and to just be there for when things go wrong at the beginning. Because in any relationship, like no matter how much you get on, no matter how good they are at their job, and how awesome you are, there's going to be issues. And you need to be there to help them solve it. Okay, but so this was all a bit vague, and other people's stories. How do you figure out when it's time for you to hire for your own business? And so this is a simple 3-step process. Cool. So the first one is figuring out what you really need to grow your business. And this sounds deceptively simple. It's like, well, yeah, Sophia, like, of course we've thought about this, but it's about culling all those hundreds of ideas that you've got in Asana, in Trello, on your phone, in notebooks, and really, like, ruthlessly prioritizing the one or at most 2 things that are going to really help your bottom line. And you need to know what they are, and you need to know how that person that you hire is going to help you get them. Okay, so this one actually comes from, this question gets used a lot in interviews, and also in conversion, it gets used a lot in customer interviews and in surveys. And that's basically picturing the outcome you want. So what would it look like in 3 months after you made that hire? Like, how would your business be different? What would be the same? Like, where would you be? And by getting that really clear picture, you kind of know where you're going. And wow, like, I used to think that those questions are really vague, and the visualization is just like, that's like a woo-woo thing that like random people do. Like, that's not for me. But it does give you that really, really crystal clear idea of what success looks like. And once you know that, well, then you know how to get there. I'll maybe get to slide 3 at some point, if I figure out how this works. I'm pressing the wrong button. There we go. Cool. So the third one is you need to find somebody that you can trust. And this is particularly important for small businesses. In big companies, you can kind of afford to just work with a lot of different people. You can afford to make a lot of errors that you can't really afford when your budget and your bottom line are kind of, strapped. And so you need to find somebody who's going to be invested in you, who's going to be invested in your business, and that you can work well together with. Because, wow, yeah, it sounds a bit soft. You really, when you're building something, you want to build it with people that you like, and people that you trust, and people that you actually get on with. And so, like, personally, I think if you're going to build something amazing, then that's probably the most important one to focus on. And cool, that is me. If you guys have any questions, thoughts, you can hit me up after this. Thank you.